Right, now to item 5.5, Kinloch Esplanade Reserve Vehicle Access. We have Mr. Nick Carroll.
Good afternoon, councillors. I'd like to take my report as being read and not say a great deal more other than it's probably an appropriate time in the process for you to start to think about what your philosophical views are or what your philosophical position is around vehicle access onto the reserves, and that will no doubt lead you onto some debate. As officers, we're quite happy to implement any changes that you propose. This is the point where you really need to give us some direction about what it is you wish to see on the ground.
Yes, Barry?
Madam Chair, I'd like to suggest a proposed recommendation, and that Council resolve that the Kinloch Esplanade Reserve be open to vehicles. This decision is consistent with the Reserve Management Plan 2007, page 48, Policy B, and page 49, Policy C. Part 2, requests that the Chief Executive Officer establish a working group to finalise a design that allows for vehicle access in sympathy with the natural amenity and values of the area and is consistent with the Reserve Management Plan.
Thank you.
I'd like to move that.
Thank you, Barry.
Madam Chair, I'd like to second that recommendation.
Thank you. Do we have any further comments or queries on that resolution?
Chairman, Madam Chair, I find this is the fastest I've ever seen a motion put before a council before any discussion on the agenda paper has taken place. But be that as it may, the resolution that was passed at the last meeting made the comment that the staff would have plans, drawings of the reserve without vehicles to the March or April meeting. Now, we do have the plan of the new car parking, etc., etc. We have the plans that the Kinloch Residents Group have put before us, but we don't have anything from council in regards of what that reserve could look like with no vehicles. Why would that be?
I guess if I can, because that would be as simple as putting a gate up and stopping the vehicles going through. So there's not much of a plan to be able to show other than status quo.
Well, I have a different point of view. A concept of trees, tables, blah, 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 would give you a feeling of no vehicles. Because one of the concerns that I have, and my stance I don't believe has changed, in the Kinloch Committee's submissions to this council, they talk about the reserve being open for approximately 20 vehicles. Now, I know that in the height of summer, and I stand to be corrected, there's a considerably more than 20 vehicles on that reserve at any one time. So effectively, who operates the gate? 20 vehicles in, hypothetical gate gets shut, who monitors it?
Why are we talking about a gate? I'm not sure.
No, on a hypothetical gate.
Okay.
I guess, Madam Chair, it's not for me to defend or discuss the Kinloch Action Group's plan favourably or not, but I guess what that plan does do is provide physical constraints, and so the amount of cars, vehicles that could go onto that plan, by my reading of that plan, would be constrained by the number of car parks. So if a car drove in all those 20 car parks, if that's what it is, was full, then that car would simply have to drive out because they would have nowhere to park, given that it's constrained rather than being able to park on the grass as you currently do.
And that's my point. 20 cars or no cars? 20 cars.
Thank you. Yes, Rosie.
Madam Chair, I guess this is in support of the resolution that Barry's put forward and also talks to Nick's comment. I think we have a lot of information in front of us and the council officers are asking us to give them some direction, and from there the detail will follow out of it. So in support of what Barry's saying is we need to make a philosophical decision about whether the reserve is open or not to vehicles, which is what Barry has done, and then once we've voted on that, the detail can come out from there, which is why we're trying to get this resolution discussed now.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Can I just clarify on, it's item 5.5 attachment 1. Oh, which page is it? Sorry, 72. Am I right in understanding that the cars are not actually on the reserve in that drawing, that they're on a road? Is that the proposed road?
They're on a road and car parks on the side of that road, but that road is on a reserve. But if you looked at the situation that we've got at Whariwaka, it would be exactly the same as that, where you've got a carriageway sitting on a reserve.
Right.
But what the cars can't do in that plan, is my reading of it, is to drive on the grass.
Onto the, okay, no, thank you.
Yes, sorry, Councillor John?
Through the chair, just as what Councillor Roseanne Jolins and what Nick has said, with a philosophical, it's have to make a simple decision whether there is vehicle access to the reserve, which also it does corroborate well by the two consultation processes we went through, and consistent with the RMP. And then I think we're getting a little tied up with detail at the stage. Just got to make a decision whether it's open then.
I think the question that was asked, though, was good to be understanding exactly what it meant, whether it was on the grass or on the road. That's what I understood your question was.
Well, Madam Chair, if I could just probably speak to that. It's the intention behind putting this resolution together was not to particularly say any one particular plan, but possibly to take some of the basic elements out of the Kinloch group's plan. But this reserve needs to be kept natural and just to be able to be developed so it can be used by all age groups and just to take those basic elements, making sure that obviously we protect the historic trees, giving some facility for car parking, and basically that would be my suggestion, is keep it natural, keep it plain and simple. And that's part two of that resolution. I didn't want to get into detailed design.
Yes, Anna first, sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. How this actual resolution is written doesn't satisfy me at all. I just find it's a matter of, it's not final enough for me. We've been doing this for too long. I'm happy to reach a compromise and accept the key sort of design points of the working group, minus all the goodies, because I believe in what Councillor Hickling is saying about the natural amenity and everything. But I do concur with Councillor Rankin that if we were to accept this draft design, those cars do look like they are on a more defined road area, and then there are bollards to protect the reserve. So if this has been moved and seconded, I'm not going to vote for that, but I would be willing to look at a more workable resolution that gives a bit more finality to the situation than sending off a group to work it out.
Can we alter the resolution? Any further queries?
You do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what
Can I just say this is really important to get this right?
Yes.
Because I'd already agreed in my head that I was going to compromise and vote for this if that's what we're voting on. If that's not what we're voting on, I'll just go back to my original vote.
Through the chair, I think this is getting ridiculous. We're getting sidetracked by.
Not.
I don't.
Yes, we are.
know.
The second part of the resolution says to finalise the design, so we can go back and
That would
discuss.
come back to council.
Yeah.
Back to council. Yeah.
So-
Didn't say that.
Yeah, I understand what Anna and Christine are saying. It's not as specific as working with the action group.
So, Madam Chair, just as a suggestion to move forward, because I think you're all saying the same thing, but in slightly different ways.
Yeah.
I'm wondering whether or not the move and the seconder might be thinking about the resolution as it currently stands, but adding some bullet points about what you're trying to achieve into the second part. So where it talks about keeping it natural, that you could say So it includes the access way and car park formation,
And no parking on the grass.
the planting, whatever it is that you actually want to do to give satisfaction. So I think most people are agreeing that they want the thing left open.
Madam Chair, my draft recommendation for part 2 was quite lengthy.
Yeah, it was.
And I wanted to really keep it succinct and short. But in my initial draft resolution, I put that the plan be developed with the protection of the 4 metre around the historic trees, that the extension of the driveway and the areas be set aside for parking, keeping the reserve, the natural amenity of the reserve, and all elements and material to comply with the Reserve Management Plan 2007. Now, that's what I initially put, but because I didn't want to get into detail, I took that out. But that's the essence of what I was trying to achieve.
Yeah, that's what I understand, and yes, various councillors I think would like more details so they know what they're voting on. That's my understanding.
You have to protect the historic trees, that's a given.
So the question therefore through the chair of the mover and the seconder is, are you happy for those for the motion to be amended that way?
Well, I'm suggesting I would add those in if my fellow councillors are more comfortable with that being included.
Yes.
I am more comfortable as long as it has that road.
So can we specifically say that it's in line with the current action group's plan or proposal? Can we add that to it? Because I think that's what everyone's comfortable with.
My concern was the action plan, the plan that was presented, I think was over the top for the reserve. I think it just needs to be calmed down a little bit and some of the...
We understand, I agree. We're actually on the same wavelength here. I think the important thing is that various councillors want to be sure that people are driving on the road only, not on the grass.
Same thing.
Yeah, okay. We're all saying that?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
You've still got to come up. You've still got to come up with a design plan that will come back to council.
Yes, we understand that.
Based on the elements within that plan.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So how can we add those things to it then? All right.
You've just read them out. So as the mover, if you're happy with that, the seconder has nodded to me. I think that he's happy with it. So I think we can take that as the new motion.
Okay.
And so it's been moved and seconded. I guess any discussion from...
With the protection of 4 metres around the historic trees, the extension of the driveway, and I'll call it a driveway, and setting aside areas for car parking, and that all the elements and material would comply to the Reserve Management Plan 2007, because I have real concerns that if it doesn't comply to the management plan, we may be going back to that issue because it don't comply.
Understood.
Okay.
So do we want to read that out?
I will add that onto the resolution.
As part
Yes.
As part of the resolution.
Yep. Yes, we'll rewrite it.
Clarify one element, and it's the last part of that draft resolution talking about materials and elements complying with the management plan. Memory.
At the moment, it doesn't.
If memory serves me rightly, the management plan currently talks about not using sealed surfaces. So we'd be going back towards gravel or maybe blocks.
I'm sorry. There are terminal materials that you can use that are
I think you're right.
That's what it's saying, permanent materials
So
that you can use.
So, Councillor, I think that's the intention. I understand that. I think what Mr. Carroll's saying is that the management plan at the moment is actually quite specific and says that it won't use those permanent wall materials, that it will be goby blocks, etc. So what we're trying to say
I think it
is
says it shouldn't be sealed, but either goby blocks or other materials. Other materials could be permeable materials, because seal is not, it just runs off.
So would the expectation of council be that we would remove the seal?
Well,
That's already there.
I think that's got to come back to council with the final plan.
I guess all I'm signalling is your resolution at the moment was pushing us towards a situation where we would be removing that seal, which will clearly come at a cost.
Oh, well, just take that.
Take that
last
out.
line out.
If it's going to box you in a corner, take it out. Take the last bit out.
Madam Chair, to back up what Mr. Carroll is saying, policy C states with goby blocks or similar.
Or similar.
Shingle is not similar.
Pardon?
Shingle is not
I'm
similar.
not suggesting
Seal is not similar, it's goby blocks or similar.
Yeah, and similar could be
Achieve the
permeable
same purpose.
materials that allow water to go through. That's what it's replying to.
Let's redo it. How are we doing?
So I'm happy with those amendments, Madam Chair.
Has it been written down? Can we re-say it?
I think
Could you please read part 1 and part 2 for clarity?
Okay.
Madam Chair, we all received an email from...
Can we just deal with getting this right?
No, because I want to speak before the resolution comes before us again.
so we'll do that. Oh, we got to speak before the resolution comes to you.
I want to point out the information supplied in the letter from the Kinloch resident. Your thoughts? This letter was all sent to us and the Mayor, and I find it quite interesting reading it because it seems to be a little bit contrary to what the wishes are of the working group from Kinloch. They state here, a proposal to widen a roadway and put bollards and railing along the sides, limiting parking would destroy the aesthetic and natural beauty of the reserve. It will also not be practical. They also raise the issue of the Lombardy poplar trees and their use-by date has come, basically suggesting that they should be removed. Now, that's the other thing I found reading all the submissions, the contradictory points of view from a great variety of the Kinloch community. I don't know what we're going to achieve by the resolution we're dealing with at the moment.
Well, the resolution's been put and it's been moved and seconded, so can we
Okay.
So we've got the first part of the resolution which has been tabled and there's no changes to that. Added to that is a protection area of 4 metres around the historic trees, extension of the driveway and setting aside an area for car parking and keeping the natural amenity of the reserve. And my understanding is that the last part about complying with the reserve management plan is no longer to be there.
True.
Correct.
Full stop. After amenity. Yep.
What's been removed?
So,
To comply with
moved and seconded. Would anyone else like to speak for or against the motion?
Just to make the comment, are the costings going to come? We've got costings at the moment. Are we then going to delay it for more costings to come back for council approval or not?
So through you, Madam Chair, we've got in your draft budgets at the moment is $100,000 for next year for the reserve. So we would, as we do for any project, we would endeavour to design the project up to fit within the budget that you've given us.
Thank you.
Any further comments?
Just before you do put this to the vote, Madam Chair, I'd just like to highlight the reason why I've moved to part 1. As we all know, over the past probably 8 years, we have done very similar developments on lakefront reserves. 5 Mile Bay, admittedly a bigger reserve, but that was not closed off at the road. We allowed vehicle access, setting aside certain areas for parking. Exactly the same as Forrawaka and also Mangakino lakefront. Only sometime around August last year, Council made a unanimous decision, of which there's 9 people sitting around this table, to develop the area from the trig station through to the dock land connecting 5 Mile Bay. We made a judgment decision to allow cars to go on that reserve and constructed a driveway, roadway down to give people access, as well as extending the Great Lake Walkway. My decisions were all consistent, and those decisions was all consistent with the relevant management plan to do with those areas. That's the reason why I moved part 1, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Consistent decision making through the council.
Thank you, Barry. Okay, so we've got a mover for the motion and a seconder for the motion. Any further queries? All those in favour? Aye. Aye. Against?
No. Recorded, please.
Thank you. The motion is passed and carried. Thank you.
Madam Chair, can I just add something? Because a man came to see me from Kinloch today, and he represented a different group, and he had a suggestion that didn't fit with our previous discussion, but I think we should have it on the table, and I had mentioned it to Gareth, but he believes that Kinloch, with its rapid development, desperately needs a master plan, and I believe that we had one in 2000. He talked about the fact that we've got one of the best golf courses, I don't know if he said in the world or in the country, and we've got a world-class marina. We've got 5 busloads of kids going into Taupo every day to school. You know, we need to plan for schools. There's no field for kids to play on. There's 5 playgrounds, but no schools. And he was talking about making it into a fishing village like Monterey or Carmel, and I don't know if any of you have been there, but it fits perfectly with that kind of thing. And I think we need to now look at Kinloch and see what it could look like in the future and plan it properly so that we don't have these issues.
So through you, Madam Chair, and Councillor Rankin did raise that with me earlier, and I'm probably looking at Councillor Hickling because he's probably the only one around the table when we did it, but the last time that there was a big controversial issue in Kinloch was around when we did our district plan review, and we tried to rezone that land consistent with Taupo, and as a result of that we ended up having the Kinloch Community Structure Plan, which was the community and the Community Association were very strong in getting us to that point. So that plan still exists and it still sits on the table. So my suggestion is that maybe if we circulate that to the members that might not be aware of that, have a look at it, and that can always be reviewed at some point in the future along with your work program if it's seen that that's out of date or needs more work.
Thank you.
Okay, so you're happy with that?
Yes, I am.
Thank you, Christine.